Today, I would like to draw all of your attention towards the significant step taken by the government of Assam to combat terrorism and militancy, as well as to strengthen the border security and management. Taking the clarion call given by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. Seemanta Chetana Mancha, also has emphasized the security of our border is a top priority for our government, and we are committed to working with the center to strengthen our border security infrastructure. As a Law Minister of Assam, I strongly feel this seminar is the need of hour, and it will open discussion, study towards lawmaking and policy making on border laws in the interest of national security and further progress of this country. So I confer my hearty thanks to both the organization, Seemanta Chetana Mancha Purvottar and Adhivakta Parishad Assam Pran for such initiative. देश में शायद सीमांत चेतना मंच हो के अधिवक्ता परिषद शायद ऐसा जो प्रयास किया है, ये प्रयास हम पहले बार देखा है। दूसरों काउंट्री में देखा है बॉर्डर लॉ है, लेकिन कोडिफाइंग जो बॉर्डर लॉ बनाने के लिए जो प्रयास चल रहा है, ये प्रयास को हम स्वागत करता है। और नॉट ओनली आई, एंटायर नेशन इसका साथ रहेगा, ये मेरा विश्वास है। आप लोग आगे बढ़िए, हम लोग सारा असमवासी आप लोग का साथ है। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री डॉक्टर हिमंत बिश्व शर्मा जी हमको बोला है जो असम का तरफ से जो करना है, हम लोग आप लोग को इसके लिए सपोर्ट भी दूंगा। और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री डॉक्टर हिमंत बिश्व शर्मा जी ने अभी शर्मा जी के चीफ मिनिस्टर जी को जो एक कॉल था, जो मूवमेंट फ्री आसाम बनाने के लिए, क्योंकि आसाम में बहुत एजिटेशन होता था पहले, और अभी डॉक्टर हिमंत बिश्व शर्मा जी दायित्व लेने का बाद आसाम में लगातार 60 साल विदाउट एजिटेशन द स्टेट इज नाउ रनिंग, and resulting we have increasing the various tourists, not only from the our country tourists, but also foreigners also frequently visiting our state. And recently, last year, 76 lakhs domestic tourists visited Assam, and 26,000 foreign tourists visited Assam. This is the record tourists visited Assam. So ये जो परिवेश आ रहा है, इसका परिवेश का साथ हम लोग इंटरनली जो माहौल बना रहा है अंडर द लीडरशिप ऑफ द डॉक्टर हिमंत बिश्व शर्मा जी, और निश्चित रूप से बॉर्डर में जितना काम करना है, हम लोग का इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर में जो काम करना है, लगातार निरंतर बात करता रहा है मुख्यमंत्री जी। अगले दिन निश्चित रूप आप लोग का जो प्रयास है, प्रयास सक्सेस होगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच। जय हिंद, जय असम।
We extend our hearty thanks to Ranjit Das sir, Honorable Law Minister of the state. Sir has, in his speech, clearly states the changing scenario of the state. Now we can say that after the Mahakumbha of Prayagraj, today is the another Mahakumbha on national security by codifying border laws. So it is the time of the act is after Advantage Assam 2.0, the scenario has changed. The induction of the companies like semiconductor, green energy and other sources. The Northeast is going to something different. What Prime Minister sir has said, that it is a time for the Asta Lakshmi. It is the true sense of Ishanudaya. Now I am requesting, though everybody is eagerly waiting for this session to hear, we are also waiting. When the Seemanta Chetana Mancha call us that can Adhivakta Parishad take a call for the purpose of codifying the border laws? We are not the part to that. Immediately, I have not seen the Manya Pradipanji take this call. I contact with Manya Sri Hariji is there. So he said that yes, we should take the call from the part of Asta Lakshmi. Now may I request the Honorable Governor of the Tamil Nadu, Sri R.N. Ravi sir, the chief guest of this inaugural session, to deliver his keynote address on the topic. Sir.
distinguished dignitaries present on the dais, Sri Ranjit Kumar Das, Honorable Minister of Government of Assam, Sri Pradeep Kumar, IPS retired, convener of the seminar organizing committee, Dr. Binita Bhagwati, President Seemanta Chetana Mancha Purvottar, Sri Subhas KR, Northeast Zonal Coordinator, Akhil Bharatiya Adhivakta Parishad, all the distinguished personalities present here, distinguished men and women of legal profession, security profession, social activists, gracious ladies and gentlemen, namaskar to you all, as we say in Tamil, vanakkam means namaskar in Tamil. When I got the invite, an opportunity to come to Guwahati, to Northeast, and that too on a theme, on a subject which has been so dear to my heart, I was indeed excited. You know, the Northeast region is inextricably woven in my being, because the best part of my life as a young person, I have lived in this land. I have friends in this land, I have family friends in this land. So there is such a deep attachment that somehow my identity has become a person of Northeast. Friends, today when I see Assam and Northeast, it gives us such a glad feeling. A decade ago, it was unthinkable. I remember in 2005, on GS Road, a small mall was inaugurated by the then Governor General Ajay Singh. The mall is still there but invisible, because truly a large number of other establishments have come. That was inaugurated. It was a big news that Guwahati has got a mall. Today, it's a place where we have semiconductor fab units coming up. We have, I remember, I won't name, but in the first decade of this millennia, when a chief minister of Assam went to Mumbai to invite investors, and investors asked him, I was at the time here joint director serving in Guwahati. They asked him that, yes, Mr. Chief Minister is fine, but where do we stay when we come to Guwahati? There was no hotel, there was no good worthwhile place. Today we have all 5-star hotels and decent hotels all over the place. From a mood of despair, the mood of hopelessness today, we see a progress, prosperity, a positivity, optimism all around. And this transformation that is happening overall, be it infrastructure, be it academia, be it research innovation, every field, it's harbinger of an emerging new Bharat. Friends, I am coming from Tamil Nadu, a land which Sri Pradeep Kumar in his talk, he said, from the other part of our land, beautiful land, I bring to you the greetings and best wishes of the people of Tamil Nadu to all the people of Northeast, including especially the people of Assam. Assam and Tamil Nadu have a very, very long historical, long connect. Very, very long connect. It's not only that we share our festivals. When we celebrate Bhogali Bihu, on that very day, we in Tamil Nadu celebrate Pongal, the most festive festival. When we celebrate Rangali Bihu, on that very day, Putandu Devasa, the Tamil New Year Day, is celebrated with enthusiasm all over. Long back, more than 550 years ago, when Mahapurush Shankardev, at the age of 30, from Kamrup, he went to Rameswaram. Rameswaram was a seat of learning, not just mere pilgrimage. He went there, he studied. He came to Kanchi Peeth. He studied. He came to Kashi. He stayed there for a longer period and studied. Then he came to Kamrup. And one of the first compositions that he made was Dhanya Dhanya Bharat Bhumi. Mahapurush Shankardev brought what we call Vaishnavism, which defines the DNA of this place, the people. He brought it from there. It was a time, 14th, 15th century, when Bharat was under extreme pressure. Foreign invaders, Islamic invaders were creating all kinds of problems. They were trying to destroy our identity, our culture, our very sense of selfhood. At the time, great souls, typical, very characteristic of Bharat, emerged in different parts of Bharat. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya appeared in Bengal. Mahapurush Shankardev appeared here. That was the period when Guru Nanak Dev Ji appeared in the West. Sant Dhyaneshwar appeared in Maharashtra. All. Bhakti movement started from the Tamil land by the great Alvars and Nayanars. And Ramanujacharya, when he traveled all over the country and brought this bhakti. And as a school student, I learned, when in our Hindi textbook we used to be taught, Bhakti upji Dravadi laye Ramanand. Dravid land in south, it emerged through our spiritual leaders, saints, and Shiers and Siddhars. And from there it was brought to the north and spread all over. Today this is our identity. When I standing here, I feel so gratified that coming from the land of Tamil to the land of Assam, such a deep connect, historically connect, millennia-old connect that we had. I'm telling this today because, unfortunately, over a period of time, we have been forgetting this. We have started looking at ourselves from our own respective, local, not even regional or local perspective. We forget that we are a part of a large family. We are all children of Bharat Mata. When Mahapurush Shankardev sang the song of Dhanya Dhanya Bharat Bhumi and praised this Bharat Mata, Bankim Chandra later called Vande Mataram. And back in Tamil, Mahakavi Subramanya Bharati, he praised Bharat Mata. Copiously, he said, in Tamil he said, Seppumodi padanattudial enil chintanai onrodial. Bharat Mata speaks multiple languages, but her heartbeat is multiple languages, but her heartbeat is one. This oneness in all the diversity is, unfortunately, we started long period of colonization, invasion. It's weakened our sense of oneness. And we started looking at ourselves in segments. Unfortunately, even after independence, we continued looking at ourselves in that very segment. Khando mein dekhna shuru kar diya. It was a variation. Diversity was turned into differences. And in that perspective, when today this conference is being held on the border security, we need, and for which I must thank all this assembly of delegates, intelligent and eminent delegates, you will be able to come up with some proposal. How do we integrate? How do we unify all this? But essentially, we have to try understand what is border. In our constitution, it doesn't talk about border. It talks about defense of India. It talks about army, navy, air force, border guarding forces. Armed forces. It doesn't talk about border guarding forces. It talks about armed forces. It doesn't talk about border. When we talk about border, do we take that which territory? Just the line? Or is there something called border area? What about the people living in those areas? Do they constitute part of the border? Is our responsibility over just because we try to prevent intrusion? Any hostile intrusion? Border has to be looked at holistically, integrally, and there has to be an integrated approach. But we have a problem. The problem here, the legal experts are here, you should be able to sit and work on it. Because we are faced with, first of all, the awareness that border is not just a territory. It's an integral, inseparable part of the larger whole. Because it was this perspective that in Galwan, in 2020, in the same area where the rocks and reef, where not a blade of grass grows, 20 of our brave soldiers gave their life to defend that, because then it was not considered as a territory, it's just a piece of rocks and reefs. It was taken as a part of our body, Bharat. And any part of it, we cannot say that I can just be part of my finger. Even if it is my toe, it is a part of my body. It was this perspective that 2014, when Prime Minister Modi was hosting the Chinese President Xi Jinping in Ahmedabad, and Chinese intrusion had happened in Ladakh, southern Ladakh. At the time when the Prime Minister expressed his anger and disappointment that this is not acceptable, and when the Chinese President said, Mr. Prime Minister, it's a small issue, we will resolve it. Remember the words which the Prime Minister Modi said. No, Mr. President, this is not a small matter. When the tooth aches, the whole body suffers. When the tooth aches, the whole body suffers. It is not a small issue. Now that is the approach, that is the perspective that is needed when we talk about border, and when we talk about border management and border security. With this perspective, when we heard Honorable Minister saying we'll ensure that our border, Assam border, we make it secure, I congratulate him, I thank him. But I also like to tell all of us, it is not just Assam, it is a Bharat's border. Whole of Bharat approach has to be there. And when we talk about whole of Bharat, there are some legal issues which I would urge the experts here, sitting there, to work on it. Because while the border defense, howsoever ill-defined or undefined or ambiguous the concept of border which it may be, but we know that here is a frontier. Here is a line, here are the posts. Physical manifestation of it, of border. We have to defend it. But the land around, it belongs to the state government. In our constitution, in the separation of power, the land is a state subject. We have seen we have sensitive areas where hostile populations have gone and occupied this place. Take the case of Chicken Neck in Siliguri corridor. The neck, about 18 kilometer by 22 kilometer of a stretch that connects the North Bengal and South Bengal, and through which the access to entire Northeast. This part Look at the present demography, how it has been populated. If attempts were made at the time, long back, to persuade the government of the state government to secure this land, to ensure that, to have some laws by which anyone who comes and occupies the borderland, it has to have certain norms. It needs government permission, certain regulations, certain restrictions. Unfortunately, the state government didn't cooperate. And today, the entire chicken neck, the land is occupied, is actually purchased by people, not the locals. They are from far off, people from Mumbai and other places. There is a Tawheed Education Trust funded by Middle East. It is they who have purchased the most of the part of the land. You have a railway track passing through that. There is a railway station around that. You have a large number of Iranian population settled there. Now, how do we define border here? How do we define that area which has been populated by people from outside who are hostile to our national interest? Do we remain happy with this? Okay, we have a border with Nepal, border with Bangladesh, so we have to defend the border? No. We have to secure the entire land and the people. It is that old approach that only it is a territory, that today more than 200 villages of Uttarakhand are now completely empty because people have ran away from those villages. They have evacuated those villages, they have moved back. Not because they were afraid of Chinese, but because we did not provide them the basic amenities of life, like electricity, schools, hospitals, roads. And the people started moving, and more than 200 villages of Uttarakhand along the border are now empty, vacated. To undo that, to reverse it, Prime Minister Modi launched a program called Vibrant Border Village. The border is not just a line to defend. Border includes the line, the frontier, as well as the land and the people living thereon. In any border management and border security, managing the people of the border, ensuring that they are taken care of in a way that strengthens our capacity, that all those have to be part of it. We have seen in Ladakh how our graziers, they have been losing their pasture land because that is their livelihood. There was a time when a family used to have nearly 1,000 sheep and goats. Over the years, because the pasture land they were losing year after year. Because the graziers from across, they would come backed by the Chinese PLA, and they would prevent our graziers going there. The 1,000 cattle, livestock holder reduced to less than half of it. This is their livelihood. Imagine a farmer losing half of the land, farmland. What happens to them? We didn't care. In all our past border management and border security, we did not take care of the border population. Now it cannot be, it is not possible. We have to include them as a part of our policy. And now when it comes to integrating the whole, an integrated approach, how do we ensure that there is a perfect coordination between the state and the center? Because we have seen the examples where a vulnerable geography along the border has become far more vulnerable. I gave you an illustration of Chicken Neck, Siliguri corridor, how it has become so vulnerable because the state government did not cooperate. How do we deal with this situation? Can we think of? Can we think of defining the border area? Can we think of the border area land becomes brought in the concurrent list? Because if it is brought in the concurrent list, both the state and the union both have the responsibility as well as authority to act. Now, we cannot live in an abstract or make-believe world that yes, there will be all the time perfect coordination. It hasn't happened, my friend. It hasn't happened. It may happen in future, that's a different issue, but it's not happening. So, when we talk about codifying, integrating the laws, we must. But that's not enough. We have to have a comprehensive approach to border security, border management that must ensure an uniform, integral perspective and integrated approach that covers the land and the territory, land and the people both. It has to be part of our border management. It cannot be just an ad hoc measure that, okay, my forces, the border guarding force, will have some contact program and they will do some welfare. These are all peanuts. These are cosmetics. We have to have a solid, robust arrangement by which the border people should feel as much proud. The sense of Bharatiyata, the sense of being the part of this great country is as much vibrant, as much strong in them as anyone in Delhi or Dispur. They must have that strong feeling. They shouldn't feel that they are back of the beyond and people at the remote places, they don't care for them. No, it cannot be. We have issues wherever there is an undefined, that's a different issue. That will be settled. Like, for example, as far as the POK is concerned, now we all know for certain, till the Prime Minister Modi came, we didn't even talk about POK. POK was almost forgotten. Today we know that one day POK will be part of us. And that day is not very far. Because in our thinking, POK is very much an integral and inseparable part of Bharat. And whatever part has gone, taken away by others, will come back. We have that belief. Today or tomorrow it will happen. Because if it may not happen today, but we know that, yes, our goal is not yet reached unless we have got that part which is ours. With that perspective, with that view, we have to approach, make the laws, if necessary, suggest the constitutional amendment. As I said, the land, since the border area is not defined in our constitution in the three lists, union list, a state list, concurrent list, there is no mention of border. Now what is border? What is border area? And what should be the status of the land in the border area? We have to have an integrated approach so that when we approach this issue of border management and border security, it is not segmented. It is not that we talk about border with Myanmar or border with China or border with Bangladesh. All the borders with each border has its own idiosyncrasy, its own uniqueness. That's there. But as far as the management and security policy is concerned, we must be very clear about it. In the eastern border with Myanmar, we have a free movement regime. Now, free movement regime needs rethinking. Should it be there? And if it should be there, in what form it should be there? Because we know that our entire eastern border has been open to elements and wares which has created all the problems, played havoc in this land. We have lost thousands and thousands of our youth people because weapons coming through across that. Free movement. We have border guarding force, but at the same time we also have free movement regime. How that free movement regime should be regulated, should be there, should not be there, in what form it should be there, it has to be very clearly understood. There has to be uniformity. Thanks to the government of today, that our border with Bangladesh is at least now settled. Imagine, for such a long time, we could not settle the problem because of enclaves. And for why? Because for fear of losing votes. The government of those days, they felt that the moment you settle it, people of Assam will punish you. But I think the same people of Assam are very smart, very intelligent. They understand. Border problem was settled. Enclaves were all sorted out. And people of Assam has not punished. They have in fact rewarded. Now this is, why do we have to underestimate the wisdom of our people? Tell them the truth. We are all part, we are all together. It's not you and I, we are us. And in that sense, we have to move. And that is what Prime Minister Modi is doing today. So friends, I would urge you, while you would discuss the issues, technical sessions, specific issues, but bear in mind that border, for all these years, the way it has been looked, cannot be looked, continue to be looked at as that. The new look which Prime Minister Modi has given, that it is a part, integral, inseparable part of us. Like as the tooth aches, the body suffers. Similarly, if something happens to any part of our frontier, the whole country suffers. The pain has to be felt by us. In that perspective, we have to create that legal and constitutional framework. And I'm sure, with all this assembly of great minds, something substantive would come which will compel or encourage the government and the establishment to think about it. Because when you come up with some proposal, after your churning, intellectual churning, and that makes the job easier for the governments to further work on it, necessary to improve on it. Take through the process. Thank you very much for the opportunity that you have given to me. Thank you very much again, Seemanta Chetana Mancha and Adhivakta Parishad, Akhil Bharatiya, this Adhivakta Parishad, for giving me this opportunity, being part of you, and renewing my sense of oneness. Thank you very much. Jai Bharat Mata. Now, I'm told this is this interactive session. I will be happy to take questions. It is the beginning of the day, not yet evening. No one has anything to ask? Okay, I think there is someone.
Namaskar, sir. Good morning. Sir, as you mentioned, we have like the external defense. Like we have to fight for the defense of the country against the external enemies. So there are also the internal enemies, sir. So I want to know which is more dangerous, which could inflict more harm to our society and to our country, the internal factors or the internal factors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You know, I will compare it with your body. If your body is healthy, if your immune system is strong, any pathogen which strikes from outside, you are able to defend yourself more effectively. Internal cohesion, internal stability, internal security is a precondition to meet even any external threat. So if you come to think of in terms of priority, of course, both have to be. You cannot let this, we cannot, by any stretch of imagination, we can underplay the external threat. No, certainly not. But to meet the external threat effectively, decisively, first of all, we must know that external threats are not just met by our armed forces. It's the whole of the country. When the army stands on the border, or whether the border guarding force stands on the border, they carry the confidence and the weight of the entire nation. And if they know that the nation is in disarray, they are not united, they are not one, lowers the morale, the confidence loses. Both are important, but our internal peace, harmony, and first of all, security is not just mere absence of violence. It is a sense of oneness, sense of togetherness, a sense of confidence. That's crucial. That's what I would like to say. We have to be internally strong. As I compared, I told you about the body. When a pathogen, when an infection, virus comes, if your body is weak, you are vulnerable. If it is strong, you deal with it. Thank you. I think somebody is there. Huh. I think you are audible.
We all know that India shares border with 7 countries: Pakistan, China, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, Nepal, Afghanistan, especially the POK region. Now, as Your Excellency has said, that different regions, we have different circumstances. Assam, we have different problem. Arunachal, different. Pakistan side, there we have different problem. So, and apart from that, like NRC, Assam, we have cut off here in 1971, and in other part of the India, it's different. So, can a comprehensive border codified law effectively address the diverse challenges of India's land, riverine, coastline, and should there be a distinct provision for different border types?
Look, what you talked about, the differences or unique characteristic, is a part of the mechanics. Riverine, how you manage the riverine. The fact is the riverine border has to be managed. The core purpose is that we should not have any untoward or illegal movement of men or material. It has to be ensured, whether it is a riverine, it is a mountainous, it is a plain. So as far as the core objective is concerned, there is no difference at all. As far as the policy is concerned, there is no difference at all. The difference is in approach. How do you manage a riverine border? You cannot manage a riverine border the way you manage a plain land. So your approach your mechanics has to be different. So it is only a question of operational mechanics. As far as the policy is concerned, as far as the thinking is concerned, there is no difference at all. So let us not confuse or feel that each region will have its own border policy. No, this is not. We cannot keep looking at this country from segments, from regional perspective. How do we operationalize it? That is a different matter. Now, when it comes to the border fencing, the fencing that you do in the plains, the fencing you can do on the river, and you cannot. So, what do? You have to apply a different method. So, as far as the mechanics are concerned, it will be region specific, it will be terrain specific, but the policies has to be uniform. Thank you. Yes, Meenakshi. I think. Sorry, I'll come to you next.
सर जैन सर मैं SSB से हूँ और मैं मणिपुर का रहने वाला हूँ. सर I have service in UP earlier. So I have seen there is increased number of religious structure across the country beyond our territory, and a similar trend is also observed in northeastern part. That religious structures are with a purpose they are coming, and how these changes will be countered from our perspective, so that this synchronization of people living there come with the national unity.
Thank you.
Sir.
You mentioned about what his question is, if I've understood it correctly, what he's saying is, along the border, you see coming up of institutions, he has mentioned about religious institutions, which may not be, in proliferation of that, which may not be conducive to our national security. He mentions about Nepal, he mentions about these places. Yes, we are aware of. But why it is happening? It is not conducive. Yes, anything that weakens the sense of Bharat, the sense of Rashtra, the sense of oneness, it has to be rejected, it has to be controlled. There is no space for it. Let us not have any confusion about it. Anything that strengthens our national unity has to be encouraged. Anything that goes against it has to be discouraged, has to be rejected, has to be challenged and curbed. But why this is happening? Why is it that along the border so many vulnerable institutions are coming up, so many institutions are coming up which are going to add to the vulnerability of our border? It is primarily because we have an issue, because the land, ownership of the land is with somebody, and the responsibility of guarding the border and securing is with somebody. And that is why I mentioned that if we want to secure the border should not be taken only as a line on the map. It has to be a strip of land, a territory with certain depth. And it has to be, because we are a constitutional democracy. It is not that the government can do whatever it wishes. Every government is bound by the Constitution, that is the supreme law of the land. The Constitution has to create that enabling provision by which the authority which is responsible for ensuring the integrity of the border has also the capability to see that the border area develops in a healthy way, in a way that strengthens our national unity and national security. Here is a problem. Because if what you said is a problem, this further highlights, this needs to be viewed, that border is not just a line on the map. Border is not just, securing the border is not mere a responsibility of this border guarding force. It's much more than that. Because your adversaries are taking advantage of the looseness, the ambiguity. And how did they, when you mentioned about Nepal, when our border with Nepal, UP border with Nepal, not only UP, Bihar, UP, all, Uttarakhand. When did this begin? It began in 90s, when Pakistan created a host of branches of Nepal Habib Bank and started funding creation of all these. We allowed it to happen because our perspective on the border was not composite, was not holistic. That is why I said we must, I urge that we must first correct our perspective. What is border? And how do we approach it? Border, as I would like to believe, is not a mere line on the map. It is much more than, it's not just a territory. It is much more than that. It has to be perceived as a part of the integral whole. And there, the approach to defend it has to be uniform, has to be unified. It cannot be that a state will do something, center will do something, and then there is a difference of opinion between the two. One doesn't allow the other to work. No, this is not. This is not a healthy system. What you have mentioned on the border with Nepal or the border of some areas of Northeast, this has happened in a most aggravated form in our chicken neck. A small piece, which is so vulnerable, but it has gone to hostile forces. So that is why we expect that we need this seminar will throw up with something substantive. Thank you. Yes, Meenakshi.
My humble submission, sir, this is a monumental effort, historic effort in our nation's destiny. Even as we try to codify the laws, if we can come up with a national border policy, a comprehensive national policy as part of this effort, if a draft could be created, sir, from this initiative, and the codification is an important component of that, because codification gives you the tools to enforce, but what is that we seek to achieve, the vision, the mission, and the larger perspective that comes from the policy. And also, if we can also define in the policy the infrastructure, the architecture, because we have different frontier-specific agencies, as you mentioned, sir, and frontier-specific strategies. If we can also weave that together within the policy, my humble submission, this forum would achieve much more than what it seeks to, sir. Humble submission, sir.
Thank you. In fact, if you look at carefully what Prime Minister Modi is doing with respect to border, look at the various initiatives, you take note of that, and then you analyze it. Take the case of infrastructure. With all the constraints being that the land is still with the state, but still work is going on. For a long, long time, the border area was completely neglected for infrastructure, especially the border area when it comes to the northern border, even our eastern border, completely neglected. For very, very long time, and long time means until the first millennia of this 21st century, we did not build infrastructure on our northern frontier because we were so defensive, that any attempt, we thought that if we build the infrastructure, China will protest and China will get provoked. The language used in the government was, don't provoke the Chinese. Why should we provoke it? Because when you start building a small strip, they will lodge a protest. While they kept building it, they kept building their infrastructure many-fold more, all along the Tibetan Plateau, right on the border and behind in the hinterland. We kept so deprived of it that our troops on the border, they were so handicapped. For many months in a year, there was no supply because all the roads, there was no road. Snowbound passes used to be closed. Today, you have seen how many tunnels have come up. You have round the year connectivity coming up. Road, rail, all possible connectivity. There is so much greater thrust. We don't care who says what. It is our territory, and we will build it. Advanced landing grounds. There are so many, increase in bridges over the rivers, all in the border areas. Unprecedented, it never happened. So, creating the border infrastructure. Second, vibrant border villages. Don't leave the village. Now the village, he said, the border village is not the last but the first. And with that we started. We earlier had a border management department in the Home Ministry. But what the border management department used to do? There used to be some fund allocation, a state will send a proposal, we want to build this road and that road, something here and there, and there's some fund allocation, and they used to do it. It was a cosmetic. Some changes happened, but not what it intended to be. But when we have a vibrant border villages, there is a definite scheme that yes, the villages which are being, no villages should be abandoned. We must create situation whereby the villagers in that village, they must feel as happy as anyone else in the country to be part of this. They must be provided with all the amenities. Build the infrastructure, give them the school, give them the colleges, give them the hospital, give them electricity, give them connectivity. Digital and physical all. See that, कहते हैं ना border के लोगों को आबाद करो, उनके अंदर में गौरव महसूस हो, sense of pride. Now, if you look at various aspects of the policy which the Prime Minister started, it will start fitting into that. That our perspective of border is not what it used to be. And what this conference, this seminar can do it, which I would like to urge is, whether we can crystallize it into a document which can go into further how to act on it, how to create, if necessary, legislation is to be made, how to do that. If the policy has to be in certain segments, then how do we go about it? All those things, your point is very valid. I'm sure learned people here, very intelligent people, they will take note of it. Yes, my friend, tell me. हाँ हाँ
मालदा मुर्शिदाबाद उसके बाद नदिया उत्तर नदिया दक्षिण उत्तर 24 परगना दक्षिण एंड सम पार्ट ऑफ कोलकाता ऑल्सो सर मेरा कहना यह है कि बॉर्डर गार्डिंग जो फोर्स होती है बीएसएफ होती है कहीं एसएसबी होती है आईटीबीपी है सर अगर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ही सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस के प्रति हॉस्टाइल रहेगी जमीन नहीं देगी और साथ साथ आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए यह कहना चाहूँगा पश्चिम बंगाल के अंदर 110 असेंबली सेगमेंट ऐसे बन चुके हैं जिसका कि टोटली डेमोग्राफी बदल चुका है। धन्यवाद सर।
ये वही तो बात है ना कि आप अगर बॉर्डर को सिक्योर करना है तो बॉर्डर एरिया को हमको डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा, और उस एरिया को मैंने सजेशन ये कहा कि क्या हम सोच सकते हैं कि आज जो पूरे लैंड स्टेट लिस्ट में है, क्या हम बॉर्डर एरिया लैंड को हम कंकरेंट लिस्ट में डाल सकते हैं क्या, कि स्टेट का भी हो, सेंटर। जैसे क्या था एडुकेशन, हायर एडुकेशन और एडुकेशन एक समय तक था वो स्टेट लिस्ट में था, लेकिन देखा गया कि इस कंट्री के विकास के लिए, इसके डेवलपमेंट के लिए, स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ एजुकेशन के लिए इसको कंकरेंट लिस्ट में डालना चाहिए, बिल्कुल टोटली स्टेट का ना हो। तो हमने कंकरेंट लिस्ट को, उसको एजुकेशन को कंकरेंट लिस्ट में डाला, और उसका परिणाम यह हुआ कि यूजीसी के एक्ट एंड रेगुलेशन एंड गाइडलाइंस के चलते हर जगह पूरे कंट्री के हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस का स्टैंडर्ड ऊपर हो रहा है, उनको रिसोर्सेज मिल रहे हैं, उनके स्टैंडर्ड बढ़ रहे हैं, इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी क्रिएट हो रहा है। उन्होंने एक सिस्टम बनाया, एक यूनिफॉर्म सिस्टम हायर स्टैंडर्ड का, जो पूरे कंट्री उसको फॉलो करेगा। उस तरह की अगर हम कंकरेंट लिस्ट में डालते हैं तो स्टेट भी करेगी, स्टेट का पहला राइट है, लेकिन सेंटर अगर कुछ करना चाहती है तो उसको कोई रुकावट नहीं होगी, वो भी करेगा। इसलिए मैंने कहा कि ये एक सोच का विषय है, हमें सोचना होगा इसके ऊपर कि बॉर्डर को सिक्योर करने के। जो आपने कहा कि ये आप जो जितने ज़िला का नाम लिया, ये ज़िला तो सबको पता है कि यहाँ वेस्ट बंगाल में क्या हो रहा है। नहीं देखो, ऐसा है कि सेक्शन चलो आगे बढ़ो, कोई दूसरा क्वेश्चन है। हाँ हाँ, देखिए फॉर ड्राफ्ट एनी, whenever you draft a law, you have an objective in mind. Unless you have an objective, how do you do that? Now that for that objective, what is the perspective of that objective is very important. If I make a law codifying, let us say for Myanmar border, is my objective is only to secure Myanmar border? Or we like to have, and when we talk about Myanmar border, how do we look at it? There are issues on the ground, issues of convention, tradition. As I said about free movement, it's a legacy issue. How do we deal with it? But if we have to secure our country, our objective is what? First of all, perspective. Perspective is a border is not just a separate part of our, it's not. It's the part of the larger whole. So any policy of the border has to be the whole of Bharat approach. If anything goes wrong there, it affects the whole Bharat. We have to be very clear about that. So we have to have policy keeping that in mind.
Your Excellency, I'd like to, you have already answered one thing. To the August gathering, I would like to draw to your attention. The entire northeastern area, I'm talking about Arunachal and China border, then Indo-Myanmar border in other states. You see, it's very thinly populated. And the main challenge is people are staying in the border area. They are not hostile to this country. But the problem is that it's lack of infrastructure. Very poor road connectivity. In spite of, despite, Your Honor, the political will of the state governments and the union government are in same line. But it's, even if you go to the, even within the period of 1 year, I have visited Indo-China border as well as Indo-Myanmar border. But road infrastructure, that road connectivity is very poor.
Okay.
There is no hospitals.
Got your point.
No employment
No, this is, this is precisely the issue. If it is a thinly populated and it is getting thinner, it is to undo that. Now that you see in the last 10 years, this how a special unit for development, infrastructure development, a special department has been created, a special agency has been created for the infrastructure development in that border area. Earlier we had just a BRO, just defense related. No, it is not. We have to have a civilian, has to be integral part of it. So it is happening. And if we create the conducive atmosphere, population will come up. What is happening across the border within Tibet? If you look at within Tibet, how the new and new populations have come up, new and new villages have come up. They have developed because they have created that. We have not. We have neglected it for long, but it is happening today. Yes, yes, gracious lady in the... Yes, no, behind some lady is asking. Please.
Good morning, sir. My question is, how can codifying border law will bring safety measures towards the villagers, commoners, people who are staying nearby border line? As referring to today's speech, Uttarakhand has to evacuate some places and 200 villages has to be empty, referring to that line here. My question is that how can codifying border law brings safety measures towards those people's life?
You know, codifying the border laws alone will not address all the problem. The problem is not just laws. Problem is also of development, committing resources, and being clear about the perspective. When we mention about this, codifying will help it in an integrated approach. When today some intrusion happens across the border guarding force is supposed to catch hold of the person who is okay. Then the person hands it over to the state police. The state police deals with the person that they feel appropriate according to their sensitivity. Suppose if there is a clearly defined case how it will happen, then it makes it easier. Not only that, suppose some goods are coming, you have a customs, immigration, you have narcotics department. If it is all unified, so that each agency has its own law, that it has to be there. But as far as the border areas are concerned, there, how do we operate? Let us say somebody has intruded the border, has come 5 kilometers inside or 10 kilometers inside. Somebody is carrying the gun, and the border guarding force has not been able to identify the person, not been able to stop the person because the person crossed through, taking advantage of the terrain. But the person is there about 5-10 kilometers inside. Then now the border guarding force cannot go and catch the fellow there. Now he has to file a complaint to the police, or somebody will go and do it. Why? So when we talk about codifying is not just to make one law, or the purpose is to unify the effort. We have been talking about coordination, but mere talking about coordination will not work, because we have talked about coordination amply after the group of ministers after Kargil. It hasn't happened adequately. Still we are talking about it. That means mere talking will not help. We have to give it a legal standing so that everyone is bound by it. It is not my free will, my decision to cooperate or not to cooperate. It is your duty to do it. When somebody is caught, some substance is caught, not only at the frontier but within certain depth, then how each agency will respond. If we can have it codified, if we can have it defined, it will make it easier. Thank you.
Your Excellency.
So it is the last question because we are running behind time.
I'm sorry, Your Excellency. Thank you for your extended insight on the issue, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, you have talked about 2 points. First is to put the land on the state subject, from the state subject to the concurrent list. And the second is probably on the border management as a whole issue. Your Excellency, you are aware, especially in India, putting a state subject to a concurrent list, it creates a lot of difficulties, and the matter will be challenged before the highest courts of the land. Apart from that, Your Excellency, can we try a different approach? Maybe, if we can identify particular areas in the border, declare it as an UT, maybe, and try in a test case sample and see how it works out. If it works out well, then probably we can advocate for this issue of putting it in the concurrent list, and maybe it may help to further the cause, Your Excellency. Your thoughts on this, Your Excellency?
You know, it is the diffidence. The question is what is needed in the national interest. If it is needed in the national interest, should there be an effort or not? It has to be with the constitutional process. It cannot be just steamrolled by the government of India. It cannot. The states have to be convinced. They have to be brought on board. And it has happened in the past. As I told you, education, which is far more sensitive than the border. Border may be sensitive for some people, but the larger people within the country, education is, for them, it is day-to-day concern. And education was brought from the state to the concurrent. It happened because, yes, people saw it, saw the merit of it. So simply because a problem is going to be difficult, so we don't attempt and look for alternative, it is a diffidence. I don't think that is the right approach. We need to convince. Look at this. When NIA was created, crime investigation is essentially a state subject. When NIA came, there was apprehension that whether a state will allow that to happen or not. But then the state governments, why do you have to believe that they will not agree? A state government, they realize that terrorism is a serious threat to the country. Terrorism is something which is not impact only that state, but impacts larger. And all the states, they came along. And today NIA investigate offenses relating to terrorism, irrespective of any part of the country, not seeking a state government consent or concurrence. It is accepted. NIA can do it. So we don't have to go by the imperatives and limitation of today. We have to think of what is in the larger national interest. If it is in the larger interest, we have to secure the border. We have to have a clarity about border. What is border? Is it only a line? Is it a territory? Is it just a land or the land of the people? We have to have a comprehensive approach. We have to clarity with that. Now, difficulties should not deter us. There was a time till 10 years ago when every time a problem and a scheme was launched, they said, we don't have the money. We have this much kitty, so we must just share the poverty. Today, all our schemes are moving forward. Resources are coming up. The question is, you cannot, first of all, if you have a problem, you cannot deal with the problem in part. You know, there is an old saying, I am tempted to quote that in Chanakya Niti, that says, what is that? Ripushesham, Rinashesham, Agnishesham, Tathaivacha. I'm just forgetting that. That means enemies, loan, and disease cannot leave it part. You have to eliminate it fully. Otherwise, it will keep recurring. The border remains by far the most vulnerable segment of our national security. We cannot approach this problem that we solve it partly. No, you cannot solve it partly. We have to solve it squarely. And it has to be dealt with. There is no solution. Difficulty should not deter us. Thank you very much. I thought this is the last question. Thank you very much for patience.
महामहिम राज्यपाल महोदय को हम हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करते हैं. Actually, I get goosebumps. The session, I think everyone present here today get that thrill. And from the Chinese hegemony to the scenario of the national security, the border, and especially the looking into the border before coming to the codification, the Bharatness, the way of Bharatiya perspective. Here where we are, it is the Kamrupa. There is a dynasty you call Bhaskar Burman. There is a very good diplomatic and border policy with China. So we hope that there is the brainstorming station has already been started, along with the constitutional safeguards within the ambit of law, how the state list, concurrent list, and what to do, what not to do. He has given us an outline, and it is the beginning of this seminar. Now I request the Zonal Coordinator of Akhil Bharatiya Adhivakta Parishad, Northeast Zone, Subhas Kayal ji, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Namaskar to all. His Excellency Governor of Tamil Nadu, Sri R.N. Ravi ji, Honorable Law Minister, he has to left this session due to his commitment. Sri Pradeep Kumar ji, Chairman of this session, Dr. Srimati Vinita Bhagwati, President Seemanta Chetana Mancha, and brothers and sisters, estimate guests and fellow participants. It is my great honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on this momentous occasion. We are come to know, came to end of this inaugural session, these incredible events, codifying border laws, legal framework for national security and border management. I would like to take few moments to express our deepest gratitude to all those who have contributed for making truly unforgettable experience. First and foremost, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed chief guest, His Excellency Governor of Tamil Nadu, Sri R.N. Raviji, for gracing this occasion with their presence. Your word and wisdom, though your vast experience and expertise, have truly inspired us. Next, I offer my vote of thanks to guest of honor, Sri Law Minister of Assam, Sri Ranjit Kumar Das. Thank you, sir, for your thoughtful, provoking presentation. He has to left this session because he's due to his personal commitment. Our generous support and partners, thanking for your unwavering supports and commitment to our cause. Your contribution, both financial and kind, have not only made this event possible, but have also helped to extend our reach and impact. I would like to take this moment to acknowledge the incredible support of management of Royal Global University and its staffs. Your willingness to lend the helping hand and your positive attitude, your unwavering dedication have made a significant difference in success of this event. Our attendees, thank for your being here with us today. Your presence, participation, and enthusiasm have made this event truly special. We hope that you have found the discussion and intersections and enriching the rewarding as we have. Your engagement, your thoughtful, provoking questions, and your willingness to share your own experience, his insights have added immense value to this occasion. We are also grateful for your support and for being a part of incredible moment. Before I conclude, I would like to take this moment to acknowledge the unseen heroes who have worked tirelessly behind the success of this event. From the technical team ensuring smooth audio-visual support to catering staffs providing us with delicious meals and refreshment, your efforts have been integrated to the seamless experience of this occasion. My sincere thanks goes to Sri Vasishta Bujurva, Kshetriya Pracharaka RSS, Sri Srihari Borikarji, North Zone Organized Secretary Agdipata Parishad, Sri Meenakshi Sundaramji, Sri Ramesh Chandra Barpatra Guai, former AG Assam, Mira Didi of Vivekanand Kendra, Assam Rifle, ITBP, Border Security Force, CRPF, SSB, Land Port Authority, Assam Rifle, and other security forces who are present here. Not least, once again, I thank you all for your presence here and your participation. Your unwavering supports may bound form the moments created during the event last and lifetime. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Now we request everyone to rise for the national anthem.